I would like to call the Public Planning Committee meeting of September 12th to order. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 11th?
Move adoption is written.
Second.
Vote in favor by raising your right hand. Thank you. Approve. Yes. All right, new business. Consideration of a resolution to adopt the 2024 repetitive loss area analysis as required for the Federal Emergency Management Agency's community rating system. Missy Lewis, welcome.
Thank you. It is nice to be before the members of the Public Planning Committee. My name is Missy Lewick. I'm the Director of Planning for the town. And this item before you today is to consider a resolution to adopt a repetitive loss area analysis as required by FEMA. This is a requirement for our participation in FEMA's community rating system, in which the town has participated in that system since 1991. We are a Class 5 community, which gives our residents in our special flood hazard area 25% discount on their flood insurance premiums. We currently have 23,000 flood insurance policies with a $3 million savings as participation in that program. So this repetitive loss area analysis was developed to satisfy a prerequisite within that community rating system program when we have greater than 50 repetitive loss properties. And so in summary, the analysis is an assessment of potential causes of flooding in areas that have historically flooded and those properties with repeated flood losses. This is an analysis document that outlines site-specific details, such as the structure's finished floor height, exterior air conditioning units, water storm system inlets, catch basins, drainage, waterway features. The results of this assessment are used to develop recommendations, where appropriate, for mitigation strategies to reduce or eliminate future flood losses. There's no mandate for property owners to mitigate flood risk, but this is a guide and resources that are available as outlined in the plan for property owners to make improvements to protect their property. So the document itself is made up of two main sections. It identifies the repetitive loss areas, in which there are 25 repetitive loss areas that are identified, and it identifies 982 properties within that repetitive loss area. And then the process in developing the plan included notification to all of the properties in that area, contact with agencies and organizations, site visits to each building within that repetitive loss area, as well as a review of alternatives and documentation of findings and possible mitigation for those flooding events. So this document itself is intended to be a guide and provide additional resources available to property owners against future flood losses. We will evaluate this annually, and it will be part of that package of flood-related programs that we bring forward. So going forward, that will be with our program for public information and our hazard mitigation plan annual update. So this repetitive loss will be part of that suite. If adopted by council, then this document will be forwarded to FEMA to satisfy that continued participation in that community rating system program that allows that 25% discount. As planned, this item is planned to go to town council on October 15th. Let me know if you have any questions about the plan itself. I do have our floodplain administrator, Sherry Mendrick, in the audience. She was the preparer of the plan document, as well as the staff member that went out into the community and did all of those site assessments in preparation of this plan.
Missy, thank you. I would like Sherry to come up, and because she's been so intricately involved in the preparation, for her to have the chance to give us the benefit of her thoughts and experience and any highlights that she has that you think we and the public ought to be aware of.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I am Sherry Mendrick, the town's floodplain administrator. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today about my findings with the repetitive loss area analysis. And I personally visited all 980-some properties. It was a windshield tour, so I did not go inside of anybody's house or assess what they had on their lower levels or anything like that. But what we did find in the 25 repetitive loss areas is that a lot of the areas that have had repeated flood losses or flood insurance claims are some of our properties that are in low-lying areas, and also a lot of those homes that are not currently elevated. A lot of those homes are considered pre-firm, which means they were built before the flood insurance rate maps were adopted by Beaufort County in 1977. So a lot of those homes are not elevated as you see some of the newer homes today because regulations were not in place. One of the things that the report did identify is that the town does have some stormwater infrastructure that is not maintained or controlled by the town in any maintenance agreements that we have. So we do have other entities, to include Beaufort County and the South Carolina Department of Transportation, that does have control over that stormwater infrastructure. The good news is that before this is even put out, this is the first time that council members are seeing these findings, but there are already some talks and agreements that are being discussed amongst, I know Missy and Sean were involved, that were a result of some things that were identified from Tropical System Debbie that came through. And those are some of the areas that we did see flooding. So those conversations are already in the works about under-maintained and unmaintained stormwater infrastructure. So those are basically the highlights of the things that I saw when I did the site inspections, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions.
For the public's benefit
Yes, sir.
and ours, what areas seem to be the most prevalent?
Those areas where the pre-firm homes are, where they're not elevated, slab on grade,
Areas of the town.
areas of the town. So we did, our Point Comfort area is a concern. Old Woodlands has some infrastructure that is being looked at as well as the Bay Pines area. Forest Beach is very unique in that Forest Beach has a range of pre-firm, post-firm drainage, but Forest Beach is one of our larger areas. It is not likely that the elevated homes will flood, but some of the ones that are slab on grade, beachfront, and those low-lying areas are the ones that we have seen that are of a concern. So this document really, if somebody is identified and they see the document and they're in an area and they continue to have repeated flood losses, it really encourages them to make considerations to protect their
Where
property.
do they find this document?
This will be available online once it is actually out of draft format, and it's included in the agenda for both this and the town council meeting.
Under what category within the town website?
There's an area about know your flood hazard, and so there is a section about flood hazards on our website. It's across the main bar where you can pull up all the flood hazard information, and this will be a document that's attached once it is out of draft format.
Thank you. Questions or comments from guys?
Go ahead. Ladies first.
I can't get mine.
Is this microphone working?
Should show a green if it is.
I have no green light.
We have just a bit.
I'm sorry.
Closer to the mic.
No, but it's not.
lights won't
The light's not coming.
Here you go.
Thank you. We'll use a common microphone. I have read your document. Very complex, very detailed, and looks to be very well written. Do we anticipate any action from FEMA as a result of submitting this report?
No, sir. The action from FEMA will result in our continued participation in the community rating system that we've actually looked and identified the properties and determined the sources or potential sources of flooding.
So we enjoy this discount here versus other communities.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be any impact on the discount in our premiums as a result of this document? Do you do you expect?
If the document is not adopted, the 25% discount will be discontinued for residents with flood insurance policies. So if we adopt this document, then we'll continue that 25% discount.
Understood.
Yes,
This
sir.
is an excellent report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for all of the work that I know you've done over the years. A few years back, there was a reanalysis of many of the coastal communities
Yes,
in
ma'am.
terms of FEMA and what actually constituted a flood zone. And Hilton Head, we established be on the safe side of that report, and virtually, if you correct me if I'm wrong, as I recall, most areas on the island were identified as flood zones.
That is correct. And it's just defined in terms of risk, low, moderate, high risk.
And
Yes.
we wanted to make sure that we encouraged people who were looking at the FEMA report that took away some of those flood concerns from the island. We wanted to make sure as an island that folks remembered to continue their flood insurance, because we have various risks here that we felt we understood a little bit better maybe than the more general report. Excuse me. Having said that, as I was listening to you name a couple of the sites, the areas, you mentioned Old Woodlands. So that's an area that their flooding is not necessarily caused because they're next to a marsh or the ocean or that sort of thing, but there's other unrelated to stormwater concerns, right? So I just want to make sure that the public is aware that it doesn't take being adjacent to water to create a situation where you could flood. It can be the interworkings of the way our storm system works here on the island currently.
That is correct.
And, right, and sort of continue their flood insurance. Big message out there. One of the ones that you didn't mention that I just want to make sure is on that list is the Folly Field area.
Yeah, oh, yes, it
Okay.
is. Yes, ma'am.
Because we have ongoing concerns there with a number of properties that flood repeatedly. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Wanted better, just brief a little bit about the past. I'm sure you could do it far better than I just did, but flood insurance is an important part of living on an island.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks also for your report, and I agree with my colleagues, very thorough, very detailed, and very helpful. So thank you also to Ms. Lewick for giving that intro to it. And what I would suggest is a couple things. One is, I really like the detail on the areas, and also like setting out where the problems are, and then also the mitigation strategies. I think that's super helpful. You know, some things property owners can do, and some things, as you pointed out, there are multiple jurisdictions that look after the storm drainage system, so we have to keep working on that cooperation. I'm glad to hear that those conversations are already in the works. But I would point out to the public, and I know we could bring it up on the screen, on page 7 of the draft, shows the whole island, and I think that would be helpful. And then if you're concerned about your particular area, on that map on page 7 of the draft, and I'll wait till it's brought up on the screen. There we go, perfect. So pick the area that you live in. We've already talked about a few areas, but pick the area that you live in, and there are letters on there. As you said, 25 out of 26 alphabetical letters, so it goes A through W. Then you can go and find that particular area, and there are photographs showing example homes, and then there's information on what are the problems there. And those areas are on pages 17 through 61. I'm not going to ask you to scroll through all of that. But if you want to find your area, look for the letter on there, then find the area that matches that letter, and you'll see the problems. And then on pages 62 through 71 are mitigations that can be done. And it's really well set out as to what the opportunities are and what the pros and cons, what the costs are, and how you do it, et cetera. And I even got educated on what's wet flood proofing versus dry flood proofing. Because I know we live, my husband and I live, fortunately, in a low-risk area, but it's on slab. And with Hurricane Debbie, we had a lot of water. We were bailing out, not our house, thank goodness, but a large garbage can from the rain gutters. It just, the soil could not stand all that water. So we spent several hours bailing out trash cans, trying to move it from certain areas around our home. So I think for the public, it's extraordinarily helpful to look at this report. You're going to look at the title and go like, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to bother with it. But I urge the public to look at this draft. It's now on our website for today's meeting and will be again when the full town council considers it. I think it was October 15, if I remember the date. So look at that. And if you have questions, ask our staff about it, because as you've said, you've been to all these areas and you can ask questions. And the other thing that I thought was very helpful in the mitigation strategies is that the staff will come out to your home
Yes.
and take a look at it. And if there's suggestions that can be made, to the extent that you're able to do that, then you can help folks with perhaps some mitigation strategies. Certainly there's civil engineers on the island that can do that as well, but I think it's very helpful. And the last thing, Mr. Chair, I will say is that we're working on a resilience plan,
Yes,
a SWOT analysis, and this is going to be extraordinarily helpful in putting together that plan and providing us with some recommendations on what we need to do to make our island more resilient to storm surges and storms. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryson. A couple things I'd like to emphasize. I know that council is aware of this, but I just want to make sure the public is aware of it. A significant amount of the drainage ditches on the island are owned by the county. And when we think of Old Woodlands, when we think of Point Comfort Club, we think of areas that are prone to flooding, not because the town has a storm drainage system in place there, but because the county has ditches that need to be maintained. And our staff is working almost daily on advancing the relationship with the county so that they are more expedient in their delivery of drainage maintenance.
That is correct.
The storm drainage systems, just yesterday, I had a conversation and correspondence with a family who live in Point Comfort Club. And they were under the impression that the drainage problem was the town's problem. And it was an example of our staff and our town council having to remind people that there is a significant challenge in solving our drainage problems through maintenance of ditches. So that's something that I think that we need to work on, and I know staff and town council is doing that. Clearly, we have, and I think it's already been pointed out, that there are areas of the island that are susceptible to flooding because we don't have the adequate storm drainage system in place today. The town is working on that. I want to assure the public of that. But we do have a sort of strategic issue here. Before the town was as fully developed as it was, the trees on the island absorbed a significant amount of the moisture that hit the ground. As every rooftop, every parking lot is built on the island, we are exaggerating, increasing the problem we have with storm runoff. So it's connected to resiliency, it's connected to our LMO tree ordinance. It's a very integrated challenge that we have. And so I think it's important for the public to understand that, but I also think it's important as we move forward with the LMO rewrite, with the resilience plan, that we keep in mind this connection between the natural environment and the problems we create with overdevelopment. And final, I interpret this, and I think it's shared by other members of the Public Planning Committee. This is a great service to the community. and I hope that the public takes advantage of what's in this document. It's very educational, and it provides information that's valuable to a resident if the resident wants to, or owner wants to take advantage of it. So thank you very much, Sherry. Thank you, Missy. Are there comments from the public on this matter?
Chair, while you're waiting to hear from them, I just want to follow up on what you said because I think it's really important. It's actually a note on my paper. You'll be hearing a lot of discussion about some development standards in the LMO and how we look at that in the future. One of our issues that we have is the overdevelopment that we've had and the size and proportion of a building on a lot, which no longer allows that property to absorb the water and the runoff. And if we want to be part of the solution, we have to look at those development standards and create a better scenario and relationship and balance between our environment and what we're allowing to be built. And we've, up to this point, been failing at it, and I hope that the future allows us to do better.
Thank you.
Chair, sorry, two quick things. It's kind of been mentioned, but in this report, it details our capital improvement program and current work that's undergoing with regard to improving our storm drainage system. So that's really important to take a look at in this plan. And I thank the staff for including that because I think that's important. The other thing is that we're going to be doing a stormwater rate study in the next year or so to decide where we need to make improvements and how the rate might be affected by those improvements. So stay tuned for that. And the workshop that my colleague, Ms. Becker, is talking about is Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock right here. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to recognize the mayor. Appreciate your coming, and also Representative Stephen Alford, who also sits as an advisory member to this. All right. Any public comment? Yes, Mayor, please. 3 minutes.
Yeah, start that clock.
Speed it up. Alan Perry, Mayor. I just want to add a little bit of context to some things that have gone on. Staff has gone out to Point Comfort area in Bay Pines and assessed some of the issues that have taken place with flooding. The county has been out there as well. Mr. Orlando has had conversations with the county administrator about the drainage issues that is the county's responsibility, and they're going to be working on that. So there is great progress that is taking place on those county-owned drainage ditches. And of course, we will have a workshop coming up probably in the new year on storm drainage, stormwater management and all that. So that's something else to look forward to. But this is being addressed heavily by staff, and I want to thank Sean Colin and I just went blank.
Sean Leininger.
No, not Sean Leininger.
Jeff.
He's over there.
He's over there.
Jeff Netzinger. Yeah, Jeff Netzinger, sorry. Because they've been really engaged to these communities as the flooding has taken place. So just know for the community that they're out there in the field assessing this. So just want to add that, my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So before the dais, is there a motion to approve a resolution adopting the 2024 repetitive loss area
moved.
analysis? Is there a
Second.
second? Any further comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously.
The motion is to forward it to full town council?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
thank you, Kim. So we
What she says.
stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great day.